Hello, everybody. We're going to be carrying out an interview with Miss Tochi Ozulumba, and this would basically be about how she was able to get a PhD scholarship from Nigeria to come and study in the UK. Now, invite Tochi to take part, just to welcome her. So as a recap, this has mostly been, earlier I shared my experiences on how I went from A levels up to PhD and was able to study for a PhD with a scholarship. And that was just great. It was fantastic. But I thought it would be beneficial to also invite someone who had a different experience from Nigeria. And she's here in the United Kingdom, and she's in her final year. So bringing to you now, Tochi Ozulumba. Hello, Tochi. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Orode. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So I've just talked about how you were able to get a PhD scholarship from Nigeria. And if we could just start off with maybe what you were doing before you decided to do a PhD. It will be this will be quite quick as Tochi shares her experience on how to get a PhD from Nigeria. Okay.
All right. Hi, everyone. So my name is Tochi Ozulumba, and I'm currently doing my PhD here in the United Kingdom. I'd have to say, so I graduated with a bachelor's in biochemistry. And then, so I graduated top of my class. I'll just say that. And then because of that, I was employed as a teaching assistant after graduation. So I went back to university, I worked as a teaching assistant, and in that time I also did my master's, and afterwards I decided to pursue a PhD.
Okay, so once you decided that you were going to do a PhD, why did you actually want to do a PhD?
Oh, interesting. So I wanted to do a PhD because after doing my master's, I realized I needed to learn more.
Okay.
Yeah, so I needed to improve my research skills and also my technical skills. So I decided to pursue a PhD. That's why.
Okay, so this was just out of personal interest, not to. Would it have helped with your career as a lecturer?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yeah. So yeah, my personal interest. I wanted to pursue a PhD to improve myself, and I had to improve myself so that obviously it will help with career progression. I'll be able to offer more to my students as well. So just
okay. Well, that's great. So just for our viewers, can you share then that journey when you now decided to do a PhD and how you were able actually to get a scholarship? Because doing a PhD here for an international fee-paid student, which I was quite challenging, to get. I only had out of all the applications I made, I only ever got 2 options. And one of the interviews wasn't successful because in that institution, they could only take 1 international student, and there were 2 of us. And the other girl had done her homework. She had networked before the interview. So I already knew that. I'm not trying to be doubtful, but sometimes the Holy Spirit just gives you the vision and you know that this person is doing it. So I knew that in fact, during the interview, one of the interviewers was saying to me, you're going to get it. Don't stop. I knew that, there's no need. Just try somewhere else. So it's already very challenging to get one here. So, but how did you sort of make it happen while you were in Nigeria? What steps would you say you took? If you could just take us through your journey, that would be great.
Okay, so the first step, like we just said earlier, you have to decide that you want to do a PhD for whatever reasons. Just you have to know why you want to do a PhD. And just a quick aside here. You can't just want to do a PhD so that you have doctor in front of your name. That it has to be more than just having like a title doctor in front of your name, just a personal thing. Okay, so first I decided I wanted to do a PhD. Then the second thing was deciding, okay, what did I want to do a PhD in? My background is biochemistry, so I could say I had like a lot of options, and I hadn't like really fine-tuned a particular like discipline. So for me, I had to just remain really flexible, and that's one thing I'm going to one thing I have to say. If you want to, especially if you're looking for a scholarship, you just have to. I think it's very important to be flexible. because and you, like from my experience with a PhD, especially if you're looking at like a project, which is so sometimes you want to do a PhD and then you have your project in mind, you've designed it, that's fine, and you're looking for funding. But some other times there are usually what you call studentships. You have like a project. Some of they already have like a project, and they're looking for someone who can work on it. Now, if you have a particular topic and it initially it might not ring it might not ring so many bells, if I could use that word to you. You might feel like, oh, I can't really do this. It's not really my thing. But I would just advise that you stay flexible, keep all options open, because and nothing, nothing is wasted. Because if I can use my personal experience, it was my master's project that actually made me. So my the PhD project proposal was like, it's like really interdisciplinary. So I wasn't very familiar with all of the aspects, but because I'd done one aspect in my master's degree, I was like, okay, yeah, I can actually do this because I'm quite familiar with that. So bottom line, be flexible.
Okay, so what specific steps did you actually take to get the scholarship, to land in, say, okay, to get to how you found it? Then obviously when you found it, you then applied and you were successful in the application process. And we can talk about the application another time. But what would you say were the first things you began to do firstly? So you've talked about, you knew the options that were available. It's either you had a project in mind, or you sort of had, you were searching for particular studentships that you felt that you had technical skills, at least in some part of it. But what other things specifically, so that the audience can say, okay, this is exactly what Tochi did. Maybe I'm on the right track, or I'm not on the right track, or I haven't thought about this and I could do it now.
Okay, so I went searching, went scouting, hunting for scholarships on websites. So I'll just categorize them into four different sources for me. So first I went to I'll call them general websites. So like I said in the video earlier, so it's I went to my top websites. I went to findaphd.com. When I was still looking for a master's scholarship, I also went to findamasters.com, just in case some people are looking for master's scholarships, just to put that out. Then you had jobs.ac.uk, scholarship-positions.com, scholarfordev.org. So there were a number of websites that I went to, and I would say that I got information about my current studentship on scholarship-positions.com. So I would say just go on to those websites, and also there are so many websites, and I also suggest that you subscribe to the mailing list. So what usually happens, like at the beginning of every week, you have like a fresh update of new scholarships available, and then you can actually just peruse through and then find the ones of interest to you, and then you apply. So that's the first category I would say. And then another thing I would also suggest in terms of general websites and mailing lists, if you know like lecturers, like some of your lecturers, because sometimes, just like with traditional jobs, some of the jobs you get might not really be advertised. It might be like you said, networking. Like it might not be put out in the open. So, but they might actually know. So some of your lecturers might know people, because some of my friends actually got their PhD scholarships that way through connections between some of their professors in their home university and other professors in other places as well. So that is also another option, I would say. And then also, if you belong to, you can also join. So for example, your I'm going to be a bit not biased, but because I'm a scientist, most of my examples will stem from like science related, any other discipline. So for example, if you're a microbiologist, you can join like the we call them the learned societies, so like American Society for Microbiology or the British Society. So what happens is that when you get into those societies, you can also get like information about, like, sometimes they share in the group in the like a mailing list as well. You can have information about what?
I said all right, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you can have they can also share information about studentships, which you might not actually find on the general website. So that's another way to go: joining professional bodies and subscribing to their mailing lists. So aside general websites, there are also another category you can actually look at is like I'll call them the big funding bodies. So for example, like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they actually sponsor postgraduate scholarships. I know some of that's the Gates, the Cambridge Gates Scholarship. So then, for example, you have Chevening scholarships as well.
Yeah,
You have the Commonwealth, Commonwealth Scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
the Wellcome Trust, the Crick Institute. These are like big organizations that actually fund postgraduate research. So aside the general websites, you can also actually look into specific funding bodies and see what opportunities are available for you. And still looking at big funding bodies, because we're both Nigerian, so I'll just bring it closer to home. You could also look at like there are also some national bodies in Nigeria, organizations that actually sponsor postgraduate research, usually funded by the government. So you have PTDF,
Yeah.
Petroleum Trust Development Fund. You have I know them NLNG did offer master scholarships at some point. I'm not sure if that's still up to date. Then also we have you could also have the Federal Scholarship Board. They also offer scholarships for Nigerian students, just as long as you fit the criteria. So these are also some other opportunities that
Okay.
other funding bodies like nationally. But one thing I would suggest is, particularly for Nigeria, since we're Nigerians and we know with the government there's a lot of bureaucracy. So sometimes, and it has been like a personal experience with some of my friends, you might actually find out that you have a scholarship, but sometimes your tuition fees are not paid as promptly as they ought to, or your
Those are some of
yeah,
the
or
challenges.
there are some challenges. So you just have to bear that in mind when you're if you're going to be applying with like a Nigerian national body, that sometimes you might have some hiccups. So you just have that in mind. Just thought to put that out there, just so it's clear. So then the next, so we've talked about the general websites and
Yes.
big
So
funding bodies.
so
So I
you
would
use mostly general websites, and then you've brought in some other tips which we could share. I could get the list from you and share on the blog for people to read
yeah
through. So was there any aside? So once you saw the application, like
yeah
the actual thing, the advert, what you then went on to obviously apply for it. Are there
yeah.
any sort of other pinpoints that you could say, okay, one, two, three, and then we could sort of expatiate further on a blog post?
Okay, so like when I saw the scholarship that I wanted to apply for, so first I would say do due diligence, because you're applying for the scholarship and they usually have like guidelines,
Hmm.
particularly if it's a PhD. So if it's a PhD, um, they'll most likely ask you to write a research proposal as well to go
Hmm.
alongside the application. So if I think it's very important to follow the guidelines. And I'll just say something. I think because sometimes maybe as Nigerians we believe that the more you write, it's the more you write, the higher scores you get.
Yeah.
But actually, it's very important. If you're told to keep it 400 words maximum, don't go 500. Don't even go 402, because just try to like because sometimes also, and it's not just about, I would say it's not just about like what you answer, what you don't answer. Some things also reveal like your character. So if you send in an application and it has a lot of typos, you're indirectly, letting people know that you're not very attentive to detail. And trust me, if you want to do a PhD, the smallest things matter. So
Yes.
I'll just say that you have to do your due diligence. You have to follow the guidelines. You have to keep to the instructions, keep to the word limits, and you have to it's a PhD, so you have to put in I think what you give is what you get. So you have to, and you're going for a PhD, and you also have to remember that you're not the only one applying for this position, that there are people all
Hmm.
around the world. So you
Hmm.
and because we're Nigerians, I would say don't just think of like national competition. You're competing with people from Australia, from Austria, from Germany, from China. So you have to, and one thing I also say is like, no one's really going to care if you're from Nigeria. Everyone just wants to see the quality of the work you're doing. So when it's time to assess the proposals, you're not going to say, oh, it's going to like, what have you put forward? So that's the thing. So don't just think about yourself as a global citizen. You're competing with other people from other parts of the world. So you have to give it like the best shots that you can give. Another thing I'll also say is your personal statements, because for applications you have to also most times you have to accompany that with a personal statement. And a
Hmm.
personal statement is just like a cover letter, I would say, if you're applying for a traditional job. So in the personal statement, you're talking about yourself, your ambitions, your abilities, and why you're the best fit for that position.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
it's, yeah, so you have to make sure that you highlight you highlight, you know, your strengths, you highlight why you're best fit for the job. You have to highlight like experiences that you've had previously and how they match, you know, the current requirements for the PhD position. And also same thing as with the research proposal, you have to stick to guidelines, you have to stick to word limits, and you have to remember that, you know, sometimes less is more. So the more the shorter you are, I mean, the quicker you can pass across the point, the better for everyone. So that's what I would say regarding statement.
So we've gone through the personal statement, which we can dig further into, and as to that will cover the application process.
Yes,
so
definitely.
you've shared quite an in-depth list of some of the websites that you recommend that especially people that in Nigeria, can use. And you've also talked about the particular website you were able to get your own PhD from. And Tochukwu has also talked about. Pardon?
Okay, just to add something quick, like aside like the general websites and the funding bodies, you have to go to like different universities.
Oh yes, you mentioned that earlier. Yeah, you have to go directly to the university website.
Because some people say, "Oh, I want to apply for a scholarship," and I'm like, "Yeah, you have to go." Like, "Oh, which school?" Like, you have to. This is part of the PhD. You have to search out like the schools that you're interested in, and then you have to go like literally go each page by page to find out, you know, if scholarships are available. And I also say, like, I think you mentioned this in the live video as well, that you can email like professors directly. But I would say, just like you do with the cover letter, you have to pass across your point really quickly, because they're really very busy. And then you have to find something that connects both of you. Like, there has to be something in it for them as well as, you know, for you. So how do you best match, or how do you suit, you know, their lab and everything? So you could also do like a direct contact to professors. A friend of mine got a PhD that way, so I'll recommend that.
Yes. So if you want to hear what I talked about as to how to sort of construct a very brief email, you can check you can see through the rest of the video. And that's something that as Successful Students Mentoring, that I can work with you one-on-one to sort of arrange, to sort of see how sort of the emails you're writing, basically. So just to remind everyone that on this platform, it's people sharing their experiences. They're not giving you like specific guidelines to say this is the only way. It's just a way of you learning from other people, and to listen to other people's stories, and to say, okay, this is how they did it. It might encourage you. You might find out that you're doing all the things, so you're already on the right track. So finally, just to summarize, I know that Tochi is a wealth of information. So if you want to contact her privately, she can share her contact details later that she's okay giving, or you can send an email. If you check out the Instagram page at SS Mentoring, you can send a direct message on there, or successfulstudentguide@gmail.com. I'll try and add the links somewhere, but you can send an email there. And please note that when you send those emails, you really have to be very clear. And as I said, it's the platform to share experiences and sort of encourage other people to say that these things are out there, and these are you're getting to meet people that have actually gone through that journey, learn from what they've done and what they haven't done, because with each year there's progress along the way. So were there any sort of difficulties that you encountered?
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's because one thing with success is that you get to see the person who's successful, but you don't get to see like you get to see the glory. You don't see like the gory, like the murky like stuff. So it's, to be honest, you don't. Most times, some people are really lucky. You know, you want a scholarship, you apply in the first one, you get it. You know, that's perfect for you. But I'd really advise, you know, you have to be very patient, and you have to just keep on applying.
Okay, so what specific challenges did you go through? Because we want to share actual real experiences, not just don't do this or do that.
No, when I say that, I'm actually saying because it's the same thing for me as well. So you have applications, because you apply, and then there's I'll just share this. I had one thing that really helped, I would say, is I had a group of friends. So we were all like applying for scholarships. So it was really easy to encourage each other. So usually what happens is that, like, probably you see like a scholarship, we all apply for it, and then on a particular day, everyone starts getting, oh, we regret to inform you. Oh, you've been unsuccessful. So like we tagged it a name called UN. So if you didn't want to say like you were unsuccessful in public, you just say, oh yeah, I got UN, which meant like unsuccessful. So we had so many UNs, unsuccessful
application.
replies, but the thing is that we kept on going.
Okay.
We just kept on going.
How many, can you remember roughly how many unsuccessful applications you got before the one?
I can't remember, to be honest. But when I was preparing this, when I was preparing this video, when I was preparing, the script for like the live, I just remembered, because I talked about NLNG. I actually forgotten that I applied for, like, do you know when something you've forgotten about, like, you just realize, oh, I actually did that as well. Like, we did so many things. I'll just give you an example. Like, we applied for a school, we didn't get a full scholarship, and then they asked us, oh, how is it going? We told them, oh, we're still waiting for scholarship, and then they never sent a mail to us again. Like, they literally just
left.
Like, yeah, so we've had like
so that's what. And how long did this process take?
Okay, so for me,
I get a PhD scholarship.
So I started applying. So I would say I started actively applying, because I think I started applying around late 2013, but I was really serious about it like in early 2014. So, and we kept on applying to different places, different people, and I got my scholarship in March 2015.
Okay, so that took a year of intense work.
Yeah, a year plus.
So just I think that's very real, and just to let people, it doesn't mean you have to wait for a year, but that is something that you just have to take into consideration and not to feel demotivated. So that I think that's very useful for people to know, that it's not sort of you're going to hear all this and then tomorrow, you could potentially get a scholarship tomorrow. I know one of the things you're also really passionate about sharing briefly in like a minute or so is the importance of prayer for you. How did that sort of come in at different stages? Because a year was quite a long time to wait. Some people might have waited longer, but how did you just sort of keep the faith that this was going to happen for you regardless?
Yeah, you're right. Some people, even some of my friends actually waited longer. So for everyone, it was a different time and a different season for them. I think one thing that kept me going, I would say, was my friends. I had like really supportive friends. Okay. And also say like, I think it was, and I think it's something I believe in, like, I think it's one of my personal beliefs. Like, if you try, I can get like 99 rejections. I don't care. All I need is just one yes. So I think for me, it was just like, I just had to keep on going to get that one yes. Just one yes and everything's going to be okay. One yes and, this is going to be over. So I think keeping faith was just believing that everything was going to work out for my good. Were there like any actual, like, was it part of your daily prayer points where you sort of, because what we don't want is people to start worrying, because you were still working full time. So you were actively still continuing your career and building your life. So I think the message is for people not to just get stuck in this search and say, this must happen, and then forget your other life, to actually keep moving forward in other aspects of your life. And then when eventually the scholarship happens, it happens, but you've already kept building. So if you just share like that process, yes, you were believing, yes, you were praying, but we're still working, isn't it? Yeah, I was praying it. I was working. I was teaching. I was, grading exams, doing scripts. So usually you do your work in the morning, and then during the day, then you get home and then you keep on searching for scholarships like all night, all day. If they're public holiday, no school, you keep on searching. You block out time. You write your personal statement. You give it to your senior. Like I had like two of my senior colleagues, and they were always like proofreading, sending statements. Like it was beating deadlines, getting with, like, it was all intense, but things that you just kept, and it really helped, because if that was like the only thing I was focused on, it would be really easy to get discouraged. But because I had my normal day job going and my friends as well, and so it was just like easy to just combine everything, and then when it finally worked out, it was fine. So you were able to carry on with that. So that's great. Do you have any sort of final words? I don't want this to go on for too long, because I know you're a depth of information, but can you just summarize the rest of the things that you have to say, maybe in like 30 seconds or a minute? That would be fantastic. 30 seconds. Or a minute. Yeah. So, in summary, decide what you want to do. I'd say be very flexible. Be very, very flexible. Do your due diligence. And I think, can I just something I want to say? I think in Nigeria, sometimes the way we are trained to depend on the teacher for information. But yeah, you learn that you're the one who has to source for it. So what I was saying, sometimes people ask me, oh, can you tell me the site? I'm like, sometimes you have to search for these things yourself. And one thing I would say, like, if you don't know how to do something, and I don't mean this to be an insult, like Google is your friend. Usually when I want to write a CV, I go on Google, I just bring like different samples of CVs, and by the time I'm done with all of them, you would see like, so I'll just say, if you can't write a personal statement, if you can't do anything, just go online, look at samples, and then from when you read like 10 samples, you have an idea, and then you're able to, develop your own sample. So I would say, like, really read online about anything. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Have a support network if you can. Pray about it. Most importantly, that you're making the right decision. So pray about it, and then just yeah. I think my final word would be like, don't forget that all you need is just one yes. You just need one yes, and that's it. And you forget all of the trouble and the trials and everything. Just one yes. So that's yeah.
Wow, that's been amazing. Thank you so much, Tochi. That's great. I hope that has been a lot of help to everyone who's watching this. We'll be looking forward to sharing in another session some great tips about acclimatizing when you actually come here, getting used to the environment, because I have worked with some special people who, you had to push and say, no, do this. You have to do it now. You have to open your mouth. You have to talk, because no one tells you what to do in the United Kingdom. You just have to. There's something I always had on my wall during my PhD. I mean, I had a wonderful experience. If you want to talk about challenges with supervisors, I think I wear a crown, not the crown, a crown. I can share some wonderful experiences on that. But
you should definitely do a video for that.
So how to just get used to the environment will be an interesting one to share with you guys. So you can look forward to that as a topic next time. We'll also continue with the scholarship next week, Saturday. So look out for that. So just once again, thank you so much, Tochi Ozulumba. It's been an amazing experience. Sorry about earlier that we couldn't get you on the live chat. Sorry about earlier that we couldn't get you on the live chat. I know a lot of your family and friends were disappointed, but hopefully just having me was okay. So it's been amazing. So there's so much more to look forward to. Thank you so much, Tochi.